Hey, thanks for checking this video out. I'm your host, Tautua of Tautua Talk, and in this segment here, we jump right in. One of my podcast episodes where I'm interviewing my guest, Adrian Sanchez. He's the founder, CEO, and operator of Devil's Lettuce Testing. And after the episode, we thought it'd be interesting to ask him some interesting questions, and Adrian gives us some interesting answers. So watch the video. If you like it, be sure to leave some feedback, but also subscribe if you like this type of content or you want to see more. See you at the end of the video. Welcome back. I'm your host, Tautua of Tautua Talk, and bringing you another episode. I'm going to be revisiting a guest that I had on 6 months ago. Almost to the fucking day.
Yes, sir.
6 months ago, Adrian Sanchez is the founder and operator of Devil's Lettuce Test Labs, where they do very precise measurements of. Well, I'm gonna have to let him explain it. Let him explain the process to you because it's complicated to me because I don't know anything about the growing industry. I don't know anything about plants. I eat plants. I consume them, and every now and then I'll step on them. So I don't know a whole lot about it. But what you do is actually very detailed in getting these small-time growers the information about their flower, plant, cannabis on the different levels and the different chemicals.
The cannabinoids.
Cannabinoids.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You think I would have retained something from the episode that we had 6 months ago. But the one thing I do remember is that different cannabinoid profiles is based on terpenes. Is more like the taste and then how the experience is going to go, whether it's a chill mood, whether it's a body experience. Am I close out?
Entourage effect.
In the entourage effect. And so we'll dive a little bit more deeply into the nuances of that testing and the profiles and what he does. But one of the big things and reasons why I got Brad or Adrian Sanchez back on the show is he and I are lifelong friends going on but beyond 30 years. And so you don't think 30 years is a long time until 30 years passes. Nobody warns you how quick that time goes. From being kids in the neighborhood to playing football, going through high school, and then becoming adults and having families and moving around. It's full circle. We actually started a pact. It was the three of us, me, you, and Brett. Brett Talley is one of our good friends, also a lifelong friend, where we just came to this like consensus. We formed this little group of entrepreneurs. And at that time, if you remember, you recall, we were like, okay, we're all going to start businesses. You're already well into the beginning stages of launching Devil's Lettuce. You might have, I don't remember how long you were in it, but Brad is one of the people that's inspired me to take on entrepreneurial pursuits. And since then, so much has happened. Obviously, you're here on Tautua Talk. Tautua Fitness is a thriving worldwide, that's weird to say, international fitness and nutrition coaching company, and also spawning off into many different areas of social medias. You may be viewing this video on Instagram or YouTube. Just launched a YouTube channel here about a month ago, and it's different. It's different. And so you're finding the person that initiated all that change, initiated that spark in creativity, but also in taking the leap of faith into investing in myself as a business owner, but just being sick and tired of working a 9 to 5 and finding other options. And so we'll dive a little bit deeper into some of the entrepreneurial challenges and things that you've overcome, but also dive in more into exactly what it is that you do. So Mr. Brad Sanchez, Adrian Sanchez, CEO, founder, and operator of Devil's Lettuce Test Labs, is back on the show after 6 months.
Thank you. Appreciate
that. Clapping sound.
Appreciate that. Honestly, before we even dive into any of that, going back to, it was third grade, actually. I remember when you first came to Proctor Elementary. And again, we clicked since then. I remember the appendicitis and man, it's been a minute, and here we are today. After again creating that pact, trying to carve our own path instead of trying to just being an employee, making other people rich. And so at least maybe not be rich, but God damn it, why can't we at least be sustainable for ourselves and at least have a self-generated income at least?
I think one of the biggest things is that when you go to work for yourself, you can either work for somebody else or you can work for yourself. And you could get a salary job or have a fixed amount of money that you can make or impact that you can have on the people around you. When you work for yourself and you start a business or you become an entrepreneur, there's no ceiling to that. It's really going to be based on the effort you put in. Like you get in, you get out what you put in, essentially. And so that's been a challenge. It's both one of the best things about launching a business, but it's also, on the other side, it's like the most challenging part of it. Shit, nobody else is going to come and do this work for me, and it ain't stopping. It's not stopping. It's not going to stop because I'm tired. It's not going to stop because I got stuff going on. So it's the catch-22.
And that's the difference maker. That's what makes us different, honestly, is because how many times or how many situations, how many people you came across where we always got an idea, and it's a great idea. It's a grand idea, but putting forth that idea into motion is really what separates us into doing something like what we're doing now. And like I said, it is a challenge. I would have to say that it really feels like, I don't know about you, but I'm losing like 90% of the time. I remember who said it, but I can't help but because I really feel that I'm losing 90% of the time. But when I do have those wins, oh man, nothing feels better than that. And even though it's not even like the hugest thing, money-wise.
Yeah.
But the accomplishment, I did that. For me.
I generated this lead. I closed the sale. I delivered a good or service. That was all me. $5, $50. The money hits a little different. when it hits the account, you're like, I made this.
It's like I enjoy those peanuts that I'm working for over there.
Fruits of my labor.
Absolutely.
And so we're winging this episode. So this episode has been a long time coming. Brad and I talk often, but as you'll see in the entrepreneurial space, if you're someone who owns a business or is looking to start one, that 6 months goes by like that. And so what is, I got the emojis up. so does 6 minutes, so does 6 days. And so time can elapse really quick. The one thing that is true across the board when it comes to, did you do a thumbs up? I don't know how I got that thing up there.
Hey, perfect.
I don't know what I did.
I'll take it though. I'll take it until it pisses us off, right?
Wait, you would think that like I edited it in. That's just special effects.
You know I gotta try it again. Hey.
I don't know what sets it off. Is it AI or something that's doing it?
Okay.
The good thing is if you have a true friend, you could not speak for months. It's been a while.
It's been a minute. It's been too long if you ask me.
Well, then it doesn't matter. But when you link back up, we both know what time it is. I know you're busy. You got a family. You got things you're doing. You're running a business. And same on my side. But when we connect back up, we just pick up right where we left off. So that's one of the key differences, I think, when it comes to who you really fucking with, who your people are. Who are you? What have you been up to? I don't know. And it's, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a completely different experience.
It's so much better when we could do things like that versus spending the first 10, 15 minutes going, hey man, sorry, it's been so long, trying to explain what we've been doing. We don't need to do all that. And that's what makes it great, is the fact that we don't have to do all that. We just pick up right where we left off because we know we're grinding. And we're just going to continue on that mission, knowing damn well, we got a lot going on. And there's no need for explanation.
I think that might be a guy thing, too.
Yeah.
I see the clip on Instagram or somewhere where some guy was explaining it, and he goes, I think it's just a guy thing. If you think about it, like I get a phone call, I'm sitting with my wife, and I'll hang up like, man, and whatever, just like they just broke up, like they just divorced or whatever. And then I'm going about my day, and she'll be sitting there, what happened? And I'm like, I don't know. You didn't tell me. Like, they're divorced. And then so the women really want to know like the details, like why, what's all this? That's part of
give me the deets.
Yeah, no. He told me what time it is, and so like let's go. Like on to the next thing. And I think that's the big difference between men and women. Is like, I ain't seen you in 6 months. Like, no need to explain. No need to like tell me why. The fact is now we're linked back up. Let's go.
Embrace it.
Yeah, like, no reason for all the small talk and have to explain yourself. Like we both know what it is. Like we're doing stuff. Busy. I'm busy.
Makes things a whole lot easier like that.
Ladies, take
word to the wise.
Take notes, fellas, take notes. And so let's talk about the business. So what's been different in the last 6 months? Obviously, there's been some growth. There's been some changes. And when it comes to what you deliver as far as your services concerned, I still got questions.
Okay.
I have a ton of questions. because I know just enough to make me dangerous, but that's also what makes me dangerous is I don't know enough about what I'm talking about. And when I have to explain to people what it is exactly you do, that's where I get lost in the weeds. And I should be able to keep more information from this because I know you, but it's also very complex. But when you tell me what you do, you put it into layman's terms. You bring it down, you dumb it down to the everyday lay person.
Right,
and
right.
can explain it a lot better. And so tell me a little bit more about exactly what it is that you do. I know you do some of the testing where we're figuring out the levels and the potency. So why would that be important for somebody to know? Like, why is that even important in the first place?
Man, I'm glad you asked that. Yeah. But I'll go ahead and address everything in a blanket statement so at least we have a good start so we can get to the point where I can answer that question a little bit better. But I started the company, Devil's Lettuce Test Labs, because I am a grower of cannabis. I've been growing cannabis, weed, whatever you want to call it, hemp, for at least 7 years now. And I know that being the data nerd that I am, I really wanted to test it. Of course, anybody can smoke from it and be able to tell, yeah, I know it works or not, but man, I want to know the actual data. Okay, so I want to know the data. How do I get it tested? Got two options. You can either buy yourself a home testing kit, Purple Pro, T-Check, and it'll give you a basic rundown of the THC or the CBD. Or you can spend hundreds of dollars and give up quite a bit of your harvest and get a full detailed breakdown of it. And the thing is that as a home grower, you don't have access to that, at least in the state of Missouri. And they might have started to be able to do that recently, but most of us don't have access, or we don't even want to get involved because you're going to get put into a government database or something like that. We don't want to mess with anything like that. One thing led to another, and I realized that, man, we don't have access to it, and we don't have money like that. But we have a huge sense of pride into what we do, the time, money, and effort into doing that. The goal is to bring professional grade testing, starting with the potency testing or a cannabinoid profile, basically giving you a full breakdown of 18 different cannabinoids. And all these cannabinoids will tell you things. The ones that you already know, THC, CBD, like those are the main factors into how it affects you. But there's things that we're still continuing to learn, like the minor cannabinoids and the things like the terpenes. The thing is that as we continue to learn, people are starting to be able to fix their ailments or use it more of a medicinal standpoint by wanting to get certain minor cannabinoids versus the usual, do you want an indica or a sativa? And the more we find out about indica and sativa, really doesn't have a factor in all that. Anyways, with a lot being said, the goal is to bring the same level of testing to the home growers, people that even process it when it comes down to making concentrates and tinctures, when they make edibles.
The stuff nowadays.
Lotions even.
So I seen a soda pop. That damn soda pop.
Oh, that's actually a big thing now is the drinks. Not only that, waters, infused water, for crying out loud. Tasteless. It acts in about 15 minutes or less, very fast acting. Older people, like you get diabetes after a while. A lot of these things are usually sugar based. So that also helps out with that when you got the infused water. But going back to that, the goal is to bring lab grade potency testing and do this without breaking the bank, with keeping it affordable, giving them the same detailed profile. So that way, if they're looking for specific things, like maybe they don't want a high THC strain, they want a combination of THC and the medicinal value of CBD. They want to make sure that what they're growing actually has that. Because sometimes you got a lot of people out there trying to flood the market with these genetics that have no data behind it to even say that, yes, this is supposed to be a 1-to-1 ratio. But it turns out that it doesn't have any CBD, or it doesn't have any THC. Or maybe I've grown something here that I didn't want any CBD, and it turns out that I have that. Yeah. And those minor cannabinoids also tell you different things. But that is the goal of Devil's Lettuce Test Labs, is to bring a lab quality testing, consistent testing. The standards are the same. It's just we're not getting into this commercial aspect of it where you have to do all this compliance kind of testing. It doesn't really matter to do any of that. This is all about helping you either gain insight or validation into what it is that you're doing. It's all about helping the grower or the producer out. And so that's where it all started. And at this point, as we're growing, we're trying to introduce more types of testing, but a little slower than anticipated, of course. But I want to be able to give everybody the means of not only do the potency testing, terpenes, make sure that we're not giving out the product that has mold and virus. We haven't got to that point yet, but that's the goal. And again, like, this stuff costs money, and for good reason, because after running a lab now, there's a lot of overhead. It costs a lot of money to run these labs, and if I can keep the overhead down and not get involved with things like as far as the compliance testing, then I can keep it that way.
It sounds expensive. So for someone to get testing at this, I don't know, corporate level, or some of the
Like a commercial, it's
commercial
all,
labs, is that really expensive when you talk about having cost-effective prices for what you offer your client base?
Absolutely. Imagine on a commercial level that you're growing 40 different strains, and for each strain, you're roughly spending $400 to $600, and then you need to be able to give up like a portion, technically 0.3%, which could be ounces at a time, and that's just not something that you could do as a home grower.
Yeah.
Or even like on a small scale, you can't do something like that. That costs a lot of money, and they're not doing any favorites. They're not going, oh, you're a home grower, then we'll charge you $60, $80, $100 instead. No, this is how they have it. And not only that, they can't mess with us because they could lose their license as a compliance testing lab. And the cost of being a compliance testing lab in the state of Missouri is $250,000. So that already rules that thing out right there.
Somebody got to pay.
Yeah.
Somebody got to pay. Just when you say commercial, it sounds expensive.
Exactly.
And I'll tell you what I think as a consumer. So if I was to be someone that grew or started anything, when I hear commercial, I think expensive. But I also think like of a suit. This person is just going by the book. They have to meet certain quotas. They're not really concerned about me as an individual. If I'm a small-time grower, they're just worried about they have to cover their bases and they have to charge so much. Not really of what I put into the product, what I need as an individual, as a small-time grower. That doesn't seem like the concern. When I think of commercial, so if I want to get testing, like, commercial sounds expensive. It sounds like there's not a whole lot of insight in there, like relatability. It's just, it is what it is.
We do it because we have to.
Right, it's like going to the DMV. It's get in line, pull the ticket, the price is the price. Yeah, it's expensive. What are you gonna do? Pay it or don't pay it?
Exactly, especially if they're trying to get into a dispensary, because they're the only ones that are going to be able to sell product in a dispensary. So they force you to have to do something like that. Again, to them, it's not about the insight. On a commercial level, they probably once started as somebody that really took pride in the craft. And maybe some of them do. I don't want to speak for all of them.
Sure.
You get to that point almost like a politician where, yeah, you have goals and you want to make, the change and get it up on that level. But you get to a point where you get a lot of influence, where you have to ultimately pander to one agency or another in order to stay in the game or the industry. So that's what it's all about. And then on top of that, I want to make sure that my stuff looks good no matter what. So I'm going to pay you a little extra to, fluff those numbers up a little bit for me. Oh, they're growing the same strain that I'm growing? You know what? Let's say I pay you a little bit and then mine looks a little bit better than yours. I'm pretty sure they use a little bit wiser choice of words, but ultimately that's the goal. Another problem there. You're losing faith in lab testing. It becomes almost irrelevant at a point because you're like, you're just fluffing numbers, or you're just making stuff up anyways. Why would I even want to do that? Because I know that whatever it is, you're probably just going to make something up, or you're going to tell me something that just boosts my ego.
Yeah.
You're just boosting my ego with these numbers, knowing that it's probably not what you think or what it should be, or what it is, or what you're actually doing there. It's not a good representation of that.
So you have these commercial testers.
Yeah.
And then you talked about some homegrown kits or some of these cheaper ways of testing your product. If those are the options, I got a commercial person I can go to, which I know they're going to be expensive. They're not going to be very personable or understand what I put into this product. Or you got these other cheap like home test options. Why you? Why should someone pick you versus going to a commercial grade lab or doing one of these one-off tests where they could just go buy some cheap tests?
Man, that's a good question. And a lot on that aspect is what I've learned over the course since I started the business. One, you have the home testing kits, which uses near infrared technology. It gives a good basic profile. A lot of times, yes, they are pretty accurate, or at least really close. But sample preparation could also throw things off with that. But again, it's just basic information is like THC, CBD. That's really the only two things that are going on. But there's so much more to that plant than that. Those are the main factors. But all the minor cannabinoids, it's like the supporting cast. THC, CBD, main actors. Minor cannabinoids, terpenes, supporting cast. And when you got all that together, man, you got something great that's working upon. Now, rocking is I do use what is, I use HPLC technology. It is high-powered liquid chromatography, which is the gold standard. Excuse me, it is the gold standard in cannabinoid profile testing. That's what they use in the laboratory. So I'm able to be able to provide accurate, consistent information. Sample prep is also a thing. The main thing that I use is an HPLC instrument called Light Lab, a company out of New Hampshire called Orange Photonics. They created a portable version of HPLC. And I love it because it covers all my bases. I can give growers or anybody that wants to know the information a detailed profile. It comes with a certificate of analysis. I can help interpret what all these minor cannabinoids mean, give them that information, give them that insight. And one of the other things that it does is that because it only analyzes cannabis products, that there's no changes that I can make. I can't manipulate anything to the instrument itself. Matter of fact, it even has an audit trail where any changes that I've made it logs everything. And when you scan a QR code or when you pull up that certificate of analysis, it has everything that I've made. So I can't fluff anybody's numbers. I won't want to do that anyways because that doesn't help you as a grower. What if you're growing and I gave you some information or some cannabinoid information, potency, and I give you some really good numbers. And you're like, you know what, man, I'm so proud of this. I'm going to take this to a competition. And I'm going to take this to a grow competition, put it in there, and it goes through the judging panel and all that. Only to find out, like, man, this is actually pretty lackluster. It's mid. And, man, that shit is going to be upsetting. Like it doesn't.
That one's going to hurt a little bit.
It is going to hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
So by me doing something like that to you, in order to get your return business, I'm willing to take the hit on the fact that sometimes the numbers aren't going to be how you want, but I'm not going to lie to you because I really don't care to boost anybody's ego. That's one of the things that we pride ourselves in doing is integrity and transparency. That's why I show people. That's why I make videos. That's why I do demonstrations because I'll do it right in front of you. I'll show you exactly what it is that we're doing. And that way you can't say anything with that. And then when the numbers come out, you ain't gonna argue with the data. You see me do it. Did it right. I did it right in front of you. Yeah. And my sample preparation, which is a huge thing, is true every time. And that's the goal, is to just straight up provide insight and validation for everybody and nothing else. Like, I'm not in the business of trying to get repeat business by trying to fluff numbers up a little bit.
What would be the disadvantage of not being well informed about your product? Now, you talk about someone going to maybe a contest. Is that something that's pretty common with the people that end up coming to you for testing? Are they looking to go and compete, have their product put out there? And you talk about small time growers with their product. Why would that benefit them in the long run to get testing?
To get tested?
Yeah.
I want to say it's even so much the competitions. It's the markets that they attend while they're at these competitions.
Yep.
Got a lot of out-of-state product coming in, and they do that for the low. And by all means, man, go make your paper, boo-boo. You make your paper. But when you are doing this as a craft and you have to compete with people bringing in this out-of-state product, the only thing that they're going to see as a consumer is that price point.
Yep.
Even though like it's not anything that it's mid compared to what somebody has put all that time and effort. This is a craft grow. It's just like going to a liquor store and you can buy all the Miller and Budweiser and Coors that you want. There's that section for the craft brewers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that I care about. Those are the ones that really put attention to detail and what it is that they're doing when they're growing or processing or infusing, whatever it is that they're doing. We don't want to sit there and just be constantly meddled in with that market, that flea market. We want to have standards. And that's exactly what I want to get everybody on the same page with is having standards.
And it sounds like when you're talking about small-time growers, smaller operations, so these small-time growers, what they're worried about is buyer confidence, because if they're saying that they have something on their product that's got their name on it, and ultimately if they're starting a business or running a brand, if they're puffing their numbers and they go to these competitions or they go to these exports where they're showcasing their product, if it doesn't match what was put on the label, then they have your company's name, they have your growers stuff on it, and so that's buyer confidence and ultimately your reputation within the growing field that, yeah, man, you got their stuff.
Dude,
we all talk, right?
That's it, and that's exactly what it is. Like,
Yeah.
Come on, man. We are in a day where, do you really take people's word anymore? Do you really just take people at their word? No, dude. You need something on paper. And I want that in writing.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I want to see. Is I believe you to a certain extent, but the price point still looks better to me. But if I already have, hey, look, I'm showing you numbers. I'm showing you freaking the certificate of analysis that says that I'm doing my due diligence to ensure that what I'm giving you is quality product.
Yeah.
And you taking away half of that, all the talking points that you have to give up. Somebody comes up to your table as a vendor. You don't have to sit there and try to prove yourself or give this explanation of why yours is good and what cross and how it should feel and blah, blah, blah. You know what? None of that stuff even matters because it all works differently for everybody anyways. Yeah. And again, when people show up to the vendor, people do their drying and their curing in these things called grove bags. And they do it's like a two-way humidity system, keep it in that humidity range. Mm-hmm. Guess what? Everybody that's bringing in the out-of-state stuff, they got the same bag. So your shit that's craft looks exactly the same compared to the people that are buying or are bringing that in packs. Like, how are you going to tell people the difference besides you just trying to explain it? Oh, you got numbers, you got labels on your packaging. Packaging actually looks nicer, and I could tell that it's individually packaged. I don't really have to think about it so much anymore because you're doing that.
Yeah.
And so that's why I can always bring up the flea market thing.
Yeah.
Because it's what it feels like sometimes. So why do people go to dispensaries knowing damn well that their product ain't even as good as a craft grower? Well, it's because it's a welcoming environment. They got nice packaging. Yeah, it's glass and all that stuff. And they got labels on there. Everything is labeled. It's taking all that guesswork out for the consumer, especially if they know what they're looking for. You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of standard that we're going to have. And that's going to take a risk. And that's going to require a little bit more money. But it's really going to show in the grand scheme of things when we're really trying to elevate what we do as a craft growers market versus being meddled in with everybody else is trying to hustle, trying to trap. And I said, again, I'm not speaking anything bad. We all got to make our paper. But I hate seeing them being constantly, essentially, downgraded because they have to compete with these numbers. Like, dude, I can't compete with those price points. And why should you? Why should you have? I know I wouldn't do that. I'm not trying to lower my standards or my prices to compete with this. But who's going to make more money? That motherfucker right there. That man right there that freaking brought in everything that's out of state because they got it for the low. from Oklahoma or from wherever, they see that price point, that's going to be the driving factor until you, as a craft grower or producer, processor, raise your standards, especially with things like edibles. Edibles, by far the most consistent thing out there. Now, people out there with labeling packages with 10, 25, 50 milligrams, and I take 50 milligrams of one gummy, nothing. I take 50 milligrams of another gummy, and dude, I don't want to be high no more. You know, like that's how big this desperation is. And like with any other product, is consistency not a huge factor into return or repeat business, developing a trust with your clientele if you can't have a consistent product. You know what I mean?
You're right. So I'm thinking about, when you talk about consistency as a buyer, is, all right, people are tired of eating McDonald's. People are tired of Sonic because they're all over the place. It's mass produced. It's this big company that really doesn't put a lot of time and effort into it. Is it cheap? Yes. Is it good? Yeah, it'll fill you up. But if somebody's looking for the like ultimate burger, the homemade recipe, the thing that hits different, you're gonna pay a little bit more for something that's got maybe some grandmas back there cooking up the burger.
Yeah.
Just the things that you can't replicate with something that's mass produced. And so what's the difference? What's gonna drive somebody to this homegrown, specialty, specially cooked hamburger versus just going and getting a McDonald's burger? It's going to be probably word of mouth. It's going to be people's confidence in that burger. They're not going to be having the budget that McDonald's or a large company does, but you'll know when you hear from somebody else that's either giving a testimonial about it, or it's telling you, hey, you need to go check out like Big Boy or something like that.
Yeah.
So you want something that's different, it's because it's tried and true, and they've consistently put out this good product. So when we're talking about what you do, what you can obviously deliver to both the grower and the consumer is that there's consistency in this product, but also that there's confidence. You can confidently buy knowing you're going to get what you get here on the label. And that works both ways, for brand identity, for consistency to consumer, and packaging or not, a good product is going to get out there and sell, and continue to sell if it's consistent. Would you agree with that?
Oh, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
And it's going to take, and it takes initiative to get to that point. Because think about it. In the state of Missouri, if you're not a commercial grower, you don't even have to, if you're a caregiver of sorts and you have patients that you grow for, you don't have to go through the same compliance testing. You don't have to get tested at all. So it makes you wonder, why? Why even get tested if I don't have to? I know it's good. It goes back to this whole conversation right now, is that fact that you got to have standards. And if you don't set standards and you don't make or take the initiative or do the things, take the risk to set those standards for what you do and for a craft grower's industry in general, then dude, you're always going to be meddled in with everything else. Yeah, man, we don't have to get that tested. I'm not going to bring every pack that I get in from Cali. I'm not going to get all that tested because it's going to fly off the shelves anyway. It makes sense, but standards. See, the thing is I want to do is if they see a label that shows that it's been tested by Devil's Lettuce, they know that they're dealing with some people that really care about what they're doing, and we got class. The craft growers, we got swagger. You know what I mean? Like, if I could, man, I'd wear a suit. and I just imagine people thinking about craft cannabis the way that they do a single malt scotch or a really fine whiskey, just sitting there with a nice fat blunt in a suit. I said it wouldn't necessarily recommend having a drink with that, but you get what I'm trying to say. It's like it's raising that standard and having a little class in what we do, because damn it, I truly believe that what these people are doing, the people that I've worked with, when I talk to them, and they love talking about the latest harvest that they did and the time and effort that they did, man, they really devoted a lot into making that happen. And it's hard to do when it's a plant, because So the reason we couldn't do things like it is, that's the reason why we can't really put a stranglehold on that market as a government, because it's still a plant at the end of the day. You go to farmer's market, like, and you go, I got the greatest, and I got the finest tomatoes. And there's people that like grow better tomatoes out of their backyard. And you know damn well you're gonna get into the price shop or even a Whole Foods, you're not gonna get the same quality as somebody like, I did an organic compound with my own compost in the back.
They
And look,
taste
I got these tomatoes. Yeah, they just hit different.
Yeah.
Nice dark red, like they just taste so good on a sauce or a burger. Like those guys, like they don't really get seen for things like that, and I really want to put them on the market. But I also want to ensure that at some point in time that we're going beyond just the potency. That we want to make sure that like we're making sure that it's clean. We're not using. There's not going to be a large presence of heavy metals and pesticides and things like that when we're trying to accomplish this at the same time. Sometimes it requires amendments, that aren't totally organic, but damn it, we don't have to freaking go off and use a bunch of PGRs, growth regulators that they use specifically to get more yield, to get more water uptake, to make it heavier. So you're getting more out of a quarter of an ounce, and that because you can sell more like that. That's what happens when you switch over to that commercial market, doing things like that. But in the meantime, by building this ground up, we got to start somewhere. And the potency can provide a whole lot of value at the very beginning of what you're trying to do, especially when it comes to patients, cancer patients, specific ailments, things like where I'm not trying to give a cancer patient that never used cannabis before and they're not the biggest fan of it, but they know at some point that this is going to provide relief. And the next thing, you're going to get them so freaking high that they'll never touch it again. And they'll always be against it because you ruined that moment. But without testing, how can you really give them an approximate amount of that? And especially as somebody who does it on such a small scale, when you're making Rick Simpson oil or Fico over your stovetop, freaking in Everclear.
Guessing. And there's a danger in that.
How do you know you're getting all the alcohol off?
Right, you might be able to turn a quick profit, but on the other end, it's definitely going to affect somebody on the other side, definitely on the consumer side.
Yeah.
It makes me think of just, if you're a homegrown operation, if you're trying to make your own beer, right? Maybe you can craft something up that's really nice, but for the actual crafters that put a lot of time and effort into a quality product, get it tested so they know what they're putting out there versus someone just getting a kit.
Take that whole damn guesswork out.
Yeah, it's like, I got beer, and you taste it, and it tastes like shit.
Yeah.
You spit it back out, and you probably never have that beer again.
What did you use? Oh, I used the corn out of my neighbor's cornfield over here.
Like, no, that's not what I was expecting to taste.
It's that Monsanto stuff. They're using that for the starch and the corn in that, using that so you can make a mash and alcohol with that thing.
Yeah. I think the ultimate thing is like people are just tired of being lied to. How many get rich quick scams? Is this a scam or not? And I just want to know what I'm getting is what I'm paying for and what I expect.
Agreed, 100%.
With anything, but especially when it comes to flower. You brought up that some people may use it as a treatment modality to either ease their suffering when it comes to dealing with pain, rest, sleep, hunger issues, or even talked about some of the various treatments for cancer that people are looking into on some of the benefits with that. All they want is relief. I'm getting this from person XYZ that maybe didn't go through the strenuous process of at least just testing it to know that I'm going to get what you say I'm going to get. I think it's disingenuous, but all people just are tired of being lied to. They want what you say you're delivering.
Exactly.
And it comes with the confidence from the grower, but the consumer as well.
Exactly. And what better confidence than adding the data to it, adding documentation, and you to take the guesswork out. What if you do things like one of the things I would like to work on, especially when it comes to your business, is that what if on a level where somebody wants to better themselves and they're ready to really put in the work on a fitness level, but man, they have, what's the word for pre-existing condition? Knees are shot, they're older or whatever. What if we could use cannabis in a sense where You get put more of a CBD aspect where you're getting a medicinal value, take some of the inflammation down, but I'm not trying to be stoned when I work out. I ain't trying to be high when I work out. Maybe a little buzz, but I want to be able to use the benefits, the medicinal benefits, something like that as a pre-workout. Maybe even like after our workout. I don't know if you're really going to find direct factors where it's going to affect your lactic acid or the way it affects your protein during the recovery. But if we can be more specific about what the cannabinoids are, you could actually get more people to get involved or to use it for things like that, especially when they have those pre-existing conditions that limit them from being able to fully take advantage of having a better physical health when it comes to not only nutrition but fitness as well.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% because when it comes to that, it ends up just being willpower. Like maybe somebody doesn't want to take that kind of a trip and get too much overwhelming sense of the product when it comes to flower, but they just need enough to get over this pain to maybe start walking a little bit each day. And then they can start taking steps there, but their willpower, if they're getting shit that's either overstimulating or not delivering to get them to this level to where they can get over that and have the willpower to put one foot in front of the other and walk around the block and start those changes. I think that's where the big difference is.
Hell yeah.
I can't get over this. I can't get over my own willpower because I'm in too much pain.
Yeah.
So here's something you could gear to get the result that you want. I just want my pain down enough to where I can start concentrating on walking up and down my steps.
Not instead of going, ow, ow. Or what do you give them? You give them like, okay, this is the plan of attack for today. Here you go. This is what it is. Like, oh man, I think I took too much and this is overwhelming. And I think I'm going to go ahead and can we do this tomorrow instead? And they're already talking themselves out of it because they've overwhelmed themselves because, man, maybe they're enjoying the buzz a little too much. For whatever reason it may be, mentally is now a problem. It's a mental issue now when you're talking about willpower. And and I know personally, I know people that I've talked to time and time again. I don't smoke all the time. It's usually a nightcap thing because I know for me, it does kill my ambition throughout my daily processes. I do want everybody else, but it's my nightcap because I know if I were to smoke before I start working out, you best believe I will come up with 100 great excuses why I'm going to push this off for today.
You got to use the right tool for the right job. This is something that I teach at my regular job as a first responder, but it's also something I implement into my fitness and nutrition stuff. So if you're wanting to get a specific job done, well, you need to use the right tool. You've got a whole gymnasium full of exercise machines and equipment, but if I want to get stronger shoulders, I'm not going to go in there and sit in the sauna for 3 hours and then be upset about my shoulders not having any improvement. Right. You got to use the right tool for the right job. So when you talk about testing, being able to distinctly specify on where on the spectrum that this particular tool lands, well, are you wanting it to ease anxiety so you can get some rest? Are you wanting to get deeper, more restful sleep? You need to use the right tool for that. Do I want to increase my appetite so I can put on some skeletal muscle or put on some weight because I've got a metabolic wasting or a muscle wasting disease and so I'm worried about appetite? You wouldn't use the wrong tool for the wrong job. And that's where all that importance of testing, I think, comes through with the confidence. Yeah, this specific exercise has been proven over and over again with studies and with results, consistent results, that I'm going to go hit the bench press if I want to improve my chest and my tricep muscles. And I think the same is true when it comes to the service that you're providing.
Hell yeah.
It's just you're on the new frontier of that. Obviously, exercise medicine and physiology has been around for a while. The machines may change. You may have more expensive equipment out there, but essentially the job is the same. And so the tool's not going to change a whole lot. The confidence comes in with knowing that it's a proven, consistent result you're getting across the board. And that's something that you're trying to keep it from being the Wild West. People reinventing the wheel. It's eventually, and here's an analogy I'm coming up with, is if you think about early in the internet days, when there was the .com boom,
Yep.
what was the problem? Like, every swinging dick out there was starting a .com. And we saw this big explosion of all these different thousands, millions of different websites. But what happened is the .com crashed, and eventually people found out who was consistent across the board, who had the integrity, who actually was able to deliver on their service and had a good reputation across the board. And then it mellowed down to the handful of websites that are still around today. So I think that's really what you're trying to do with the green rush. Is that what they're calling it?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like the Wild West. So right now it's the Wild West. So there's a new sheriff in town. And by bringing some law and order, and ultimately, a little cliche, but yeah, being the defender of truth. I'm going to lay down the law. This is how it is. This is what you're getting, both in forms of the grower, what they're getting, but also the people across the board, to reestablish some calm and some law and order, especially on the Wild West forefront of cannabis growing.
I'll give you an even a better real world representation of that. At the beginning of November, I went out to Colorado for an event for Build a Soil Days. Build a Soil is a manufacturer of living soil when it comes to growing, not just cannabis but plants, because you got a lot of the microbial activity and all that. So as I was there, I set up with not intent of really doing a whole lot, because one, it was cold, and my equipment does not work well in the cold. And was I the best prepared? Probably not. But when I was there, within minutes, 15 minutes, I had an individual bring me 8 samples that he wanted to try. Shout out Mark T. Hayes. Anyways, so throughout the few hours that I was there, I made quite a bit of money without even having to test. And I do not have that same range of success here in Missouri. And I had to think why. Because one, it let me know what I'm doing is truly beneficial, but I feel like I'm in the wrong state. So it really made me consider, man, dude, I just need to go ahead and change the scenery. I had that long drive home back from, what town was it? Grand Junction, around that area. Long drive. But then I started thinking about it, I was like, listen, the industry in Colorado has been around since 2012. They're a lot more mature than we are. They've already gotten past where we're at now, where we're in the age of accessibility, where we have a lot of people that want to be able to make it accessible for everyone. But not everybody does produce the quality like that. And in Colorado, they essentially wean themselves out. It's okay. The green rush is already come and gone. And now everybody that's there, okay, quality is what sets us apart. So how do we prove that? Why don't you guys go to the lab? Did you know that we don't have access here in Colorado? Why are you not out here in Colorado already? Because we don't even have access to get testing like that done. No shit. Okay, so it was huge, because putting the data on there is already the beginning of what is going to be able to set them apart when it comes to quality. And then I'm thinking, why can't we go ahead and get ahead of the curve in Missouri? All the states are all trying to get into it. But the difference is they got somebody like me. They got Devil's Lettuce Test Labs, a business that is really non-existent besides a handful around the country. But I know that with my services that we can really set the bar and get ahead of that curve already, where we're already hitting the quality aspect of it. So we're getting past the whole accessibility thing. No, you know what? No, I'm not trying to wait to see when everybody falls off. I want to already have on paper. You know, if I want to go ahead and get into the commercial aspect, I'm already doing the testing. Instead of waiting to the last minute when I finally get my license, that now I got to start doing the testing. No, I've been doing it already. I already have my portfolio. I already know what it is that's quality. I already know what strains. I know the genetics. I already have all that information already. And that could really put Missouri ahead of the game. Because right now, man, I'm gonna make some of y'all mad with this one. But in Colorado, they didn't really see Missouri as anything better than Oklahoma. And y'all already know how we even perceive Oklahoma. I don't want to speak to everybody about everybody in Oklahoma, but we already know that how it's affecting our market. And for other states to think we're not really that much better, man, that part upsets me. So this is that point in time where we can really change how the whole industry nationally sees us, that we are really ahead of the game. And that's really a huge thing. So that's why it's not about, do I need to change scenery? No. Let's take what has already been done in places like Washington and California and in Colorado, and let's use that to stay ahead of the curve and really keep and really have Missouri ahead. So that way, when people pass through, they already know. Oh shit, Missouri! We already know that they got quality wherever we go, or they go to the Devil's Lettuce Test Lab site and see the highlighted craft growers that I intend on highlighting because they deserve that kind of recognition because they're doing the steps already with me. Easter egg. Anyways, but that's going back to that analogy that you said as far as like where everybody comes up and then eventually a lot of them are just going to fall, a lot of people are just going to fall off. The saying is one thing, but actually doing it is going to be another. And that's really going to be a big game changer. And that was huge insight, even for me, into what we need to do to get to that point.
And it's going to be consistently being able to deliver that information, I think, is what's going to make you stand out from the crowd the longer you're doing that testing. So I think you're onto something when you're talking about, all right, I could just go here. I could go to Colorado. The green rush is done there. But by staying here and doing home growing testing and being a homegrown product yourself, you got something that's going to differentiate you from the crowd, which is essentially what all these growers are doing. Well, what makes you different? What makes you different? By staying here and consistently delivering the testing and the product that you deliver, you're able to give these growers the confidence to go and sell the product, but also on the flip side, the people that are buying the products are knowing they're consistently getting what they pay for.
And they don't have to explain that every time when somebody asks, like,
No.
Proof's in the pudding, baby. Like, it's all there for you to see.
Yeah.
So when you're ready and you can go around, shop around, and see what else you want, I'll see you back around because you know what I got.
Yeah.
It's good. And I got the data to back that shit up.
I think that's the confidence that it brings is that you know what it is. You can go somewhere else where they don't.
I'm gonna leave that up. I'm gonna leave that up to you at this point. I'm gonna let you decide, like I said, because in that way you're also saying like, well, you can go shop around. I already know you're gonna come back around.
Yeah.
And I know to me that's always gonna be in the back of my head as a consumer when I am shopping around at all the vendor spots. Like, man, that motherfucker really. That guy really had a sort of confidence. Like, he didn't really tell me anything about it. Like we got her. It's all there. Yeah. And regardless, like I was like, I'm probably gonna go back around because something about it. There's just something about it. Just that level of confidence and that it bring confidence that comes to the table.
I think Alex Hormozi put it best, where you don't need to stand on a mountaintop and scream affirmations and try to tell everybody who you are. You just have a overwhelming amount of proof that tells everybody else what you are and what your product is. I think that ultimately
I like that.
Brings it full circle. You don't have to pay for ads. You know what I got. This guy doesn't need my money. I want to give it to him because his product's consistent across the board. And so talk to me about what are some of the next steps and what you're offering, what's coming up on the schedule for you, what do you plan to do next? Can you tell us any of that? And where do you see this thing going in another 6 months if it takes us that long to do another episode?
Well, I said I really hope that it only takes 6 months. Right now, it all goes back around where I really want to be able to showcase the craft growers like in Missouri. And there's going to be a lot that probably won't make this list that I'm trying to put together. But to the ones that are consistently testing, or not, they don't shy away from it, or they've done quite a bit of testing, and they said, you know what, I want labels on my packaging too. Ones that are willing to take that sort of risk and put the extra money and effort into doing it, I really think they deserve the recognition. So that way, when I have my list on devilslettucetesting.com of highlighted craft growers, like they don't really have to go through all these other sort of vendors or breeders to try to figure out which one's which, or if they're looking for something specific. No, if they've come testing with me, I'll go ahead and I'll do a lot of the footwork for you in doing that. And I'm putting that list together. So when at some point we going to have events where it's only going to be these craft growers, and everything that you see on the table in that glass case or whatever, man, it's already at the very minimum, it's been getting tested, and they're going to have COAs. They're going to have labeling on there. It's going to take a lot of that freaking, man, is this some out of state, some packs from out of state? We're taking that out there. And I also want to change the landscape in which we do that. Like, because again, I want, when people come in, I want to be able to have people that don't typically, or that you're not your typical stoner. The ones that aren't just, they don't, their life and their personality doesn't revolve around cannabis itself, but somebody that really takes their fitness very seriously, but they do partake, but they don't really want to mess with dispensary because maybe it hasn't really worked out for them in a sense. They really want to give a shot at some of these craft at a high quality that you won't find in there. I want to be able to have events that attract people that don't necessarily do this all the time. Doctors, lawyers, like I said, like people that you just don't typically see at a cannabis event.
I think they're not the typical crowd that you would see, but we have to come to an agreement that people in general, especially here in the States, are becoming very health conscious and aware about what they're putting in their bodies, what they're consuming. And it's not what it used, that stigma's not there. It's not just a bunch of people trying to go and get high at a reggae concert.
Wearing
Led Zeppelin, it's not all tied. There's a huge variety, just like there is in the plants and the different products that are out there. There's a whole variety of people out there that are consuming these products, especially as it becomes legal across the states. And those people are very aware about what they're putting in their bodies. They're very conscious aware. They're professionals. They're of all walks of life. And so it's not just the reggae crowd. It's not just or these rock concerts. It's branched into this whole different endeavor. A lot of it because of the medicinal benefits, the health benefits, both physically and psychological benefits that come with it. There's a whole different crowd. And so what's one way to, again, bring back their confidence, but also make it so that these people don't feel like they're the odd ones out, that they can come to these events. I think having the confidence
and not really feel like an outsider. You know?
But I think having the confidence and knowing that everything that you're doing is science-based. It's not, it's uninterested.
It's not bro science freaking.
It's not just something that haphazardly happened, but it's something that we all can agree on. All of us that live in reality know what facts are, know what numbers are, and that it's the truth. It's got nothing to do with your personal feelings. It's got nothing to do with how much time and love that you gave to this plant. It's just giving you the facts. So I think you're trying to bring the truth to the people.
I want to bridge. There is a gap, and if I could bridge that gap, I really feel that I would have accomplished what I set out. I guess not initially, but I know I've at least made some sort of impact on the cannabis industry in a positive light as well, and being able to establish consumer confidence into the home grower, the small batch cultivator, the people that make edibles on a small scale and not in a large processing plant or something like that. But unless you really have the information, that's really going to be the thing that helps stitch things, that bridges that gap.
And when you talk about the different crowds and having this wide variety of people that are now becoming consumers, that are now seeing the benefits, that are now joining into this lifestyle, or maybe coming to this as a way to address any of these issues. If I'm one of these people, because I'm not a regular user myself, but having the confidence knowing that something's been tested and seeing that it's been working may bring somebody who's on the fringe, who thinks that they're not that crowd that would be there, change their mind and actually come and try one of these to get the benefits that are there. Maybe they're tired of being lied to. They're tired of buying the next best thing that pops up, the next fad machine that they could slap on a shoulder or to help them with their appetite or whatever. Those little, they've been shown to be a scam. It's been proven by science a couple times over. The little change your vibration bracelets.
The little magnetic freaking.
That was another thing, is that's been completely disproven, but they were out there, they're selling millions, I don't know, they made billions of dollars with these things. But what happened is the people that it was supposed to help end up being the ones that get duped for their money and fall for another scam, but ultimately end up with the bag. And they still have all the problems that they were trying to address by doing something as crazy as getting some wristband. That's what people are tired of. And they just want something that works. They just want to know that it's going to deliver what it says it's going to deliver. And I think that's what your company is doing by giving you just the data. This is not bullshit. This is what it is. And these are the effects it's going to have on your health.
No room for interpretation.
No fluff.
The data is there. You
No
decide
marketing.
what it is that you want with it. But we're not going to sit here and give you information and leave that up for interpretation. Because, like you said, man, but unfortunately, it feels like we're in a time of not only information, but misinformation. And
Yeah.
it gets overwhelming and it gets exhausting trying to wall your way, trying to figure out what is false and what's fact. I mean, it's ridiculous at this point. But you can't argue with the data most of the time.
No, you can't. You can, but then you can argue with things that are just fundamentally true, like scientific testing, having some numbers that have been proven over and over again that stand true in the laws of physics and nature, that you can disagree with it, but it doesn't change the fact that the facts are the facts, especially when it comes to data-driven empirical evidence like what you're providing with your services. Speaking of getting rid of all the questions and sticking just to the facts, it makes me think of one of the questions that I hadn't brought up, but I wanted to get some clarity on. So what's up with this THCA thing? I know what THC is, but you're hearing a little bit of confusion on what THCA is specifically. Could you shine some light and give some clarity on that, especially for someone who doesn't know?
So glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
So glad you brought that up. The thing is that THCA wouldn't even really be a thing, but because of the Farm Bill that speaks of that you can't have cannabis products over 0.3% Delta-9 THC. It has to be hemp-derived that don't fit because you're not a seller of cannabis if it's hemp-derived product. And because THCA, tetrahydrocannabinol acid, is literally THC in its raw form. And you lose that acid or that carboxyl group by heat. Applying heat, whether you're smoking it or cooking it. However you want to do it, you're removing that carboxyl group. And you're getting Delta-9 THC. So it's not hemp-derived. You can't change the chemical compounds of hemp to make THCA. While though, there are some that will argue that. I don't understand why you would do that, but regardless, it's not a hemp-derived product. Man, it is straight up just weed. It's THCA is weed in its raw form until you smoke it. And then it becomes Delta-9 THC. Now, Delta-9 THC is a naturally occurring process over time. You know, it's essentially the degradation. It's been sitting around for a while, or you're going to lose that carboxyl group or that acid element to it, and it turns into Delta-9 THC. But I'm all about using the legal wording and structure of the Farm Bill to our advantage in order for people to really get their hemp-derived product out there.
Is it a...
So if you see it in a gas station or whatever, and you see a THCA product, you're buying weed. You're buying cannabis. It's just a legal loophole that we're using. And again, I don't want to say that I'm speaking negatively about it because, again, gotta make your paper. And let's use the loophole while we still can because they won't legally come after you for that.
Is it merely just a label to throw on a derivative of an inferior product to be able to
No.
sell it differently?
No.
Is it a byproduct? Like, I'm still confused.
All right,
So someone, is it labeled THCA so someone thinks that they're getting something?
That's the problem. That's where we lose
So I see
people.
that, I'm thinking, oh, this is weed. But it's not. It's actually hemp derived.
But and in all reality, it's the complete opposite. It's not hemp derived. It's not like
okay,
things.
gotcha.
So you see things like Delta 8, or
Yeah.
Delta 10. Those Delta products that are also, they get around the loophole where
It's not
as
the
long
same
as
structure.
It's that Delta 9 that they're really going after, which is the psychoactive compound of cannabis. Delta 8 and Delta 10 are naturally occurring, but in very trace amounts. But you have to add a chemical process to that by adding mixtures of like acids and other solvents to make the chemical conversion from hemp, CBD, CBDA into these Delta 8 and Delta 10. And people want to make that as the same as they throw the THCA and the Delta 9 into that same category. But that is the one thing that is different, is that's not a hemp-derived product. It is literally cannabis. But legally, according to the Farm Bill, if you were to take cannabis, if you're growing it, say you're growing it, and you decided to test with me, and you wanted to make sure that you have a THCA product, when it's time to harvest, normally you're going to have a little bit of the Delta 9. 0.3 is nothing. You'll get over that just from the heat from the lights. Will start converting in the Delta 9 because you're already applying the heat.
Sure.
But the way it works, even when like people that grow commercial hemp, is that you have to test it 30 days before harvest. So the same thing with a weed plant, a cannabis plant, is that you test it a couple weeks prior of your intended harvest. When I test it, the main thing that's going to show up is THCA. You're not going to get that Delta 9. So now you have a certificate of analysis that says that you have a THCA product and none of the Delta 9. That there makes it able to sell on shelves, which I'm all about. Matter of fact, that's what I would like some of these craft growers to be able to utilize, is things like that in order to sell on the shelves and be able to have labels and advertise, because you can actually sell things online as a THCA product. So when you see people online and they're selling THCA products, it's the legal way you could sell cannabis online.
Wow.
That's literally all it is. But because we have the whole hemp thing going on in the Farm Bill, it really messes with what it really is. And it really needs to separate the thing themselves from Delta 8 and Delta 10. THCA is just raw cannabis. Like when you eat a cannabis bud, you're not going to get anything from it because that's THCA. It has its own medicinal value, but until you actually apply the heat, you're not going to get the psychoactive component. Now, unless you're a dog. I don't know how dogs' bodies work, but they can eat raw cannabis and dude, they get high as shit.
I think it's because they have different enzymes that convert those molecules in a different, which is why they can eat bones.
Hey,
but they
right.
can't eat chocolate. Dog can eat a damn bone, but you feed him chocolate, it kills him.
A blueberry? Like really? Like goddamn.
All I did was feed him a candy bar, Mom. Why is Fido dead?
But take advantage of that since we're talking about it. As a craft grower, you want to expand the market? Dude, come get it tested a couple weeks prior to harvest. Even if it's wet, I will dehydrate the sample and enough where we can get all the moisture out of there so we don't have any disparities or any, sometimes I forget the word, like things that won't give us any false positives or anything like that.
Impurities?
Impurities. We get a straight THC number, including all of our minor cannabinoids, but we don't get over that 0.3% Delta 9 THC. Because you want to know something else, is that any of those THCA products that are on the shelves, if I were to take it to the lab and then test it, you would be over that 0.3% because it just happens. But it's only a matter of having a certificate of analysis at the time of when it gets tested. It really makes a difference when the hemp people that grow commercial hemp, because they really don't want any psychoactive because they're using it for products on shelves of Walmart or
Right.
They're in lotions.
People that aren't looking for psychoactive.
Yeah. I'm not trying to wash my head with a hemp-based shampoo and be like, now I'm getting fucking faded.
Some people might, but definitely.
But on a grand deal, like, dude, you're asking for a lawsuit at that point.
Yeah, people wash their kids' heads with soap. If it's lotion, that's not supposed to have any psychoactive properties. You can see how that can get out of line real quick.
Exactly.
Real quick.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Thank you for clearing that up. I do want to end with some questions myself that I got, and we're going to do what's called a rapid fire question session. They're nothing too long, but I'm going to need your rapid response. Give a quick, short, simple, and to the point answer. You know, kind of how our generation likes it. No bullshit, no fluff. Just tell us what the answer is. Tell us what you feel, and these are just about you, Brad, so we can get to know a little bit more about you, but also so we can put you under the gun. I've got a couple of them pulled out. So I got 10 of these for you, and we'll be wrapping this up. So thank you for tuning in to Tautua Talk. I hope you found some of this enlightening. Hopefully you learned some information, and I'll be dropping contact information for Brad and myself in the description of this video, along with how to reach out and find out more about Brad's services with Devil's Lettuce testing, especially if you have any inquiries on how to get a hold of him. I'll have him plug that, but first, we're going to start with some rapid fire questions. I got 10 of them in total. Question number 1. What's your favorite strain or cannabinoid to work with?
As far as cannabis strain, Tropicana Cherry.
Tropicana Cherry.
Why? Because it has a heavy presence of a limonene terpene. If you smell it, it smells like mandarin oranges. It's one of those things where I don't care so much about the cannabinoid content because it's not usually on the higher aspect of it, but the fact that it's like a good craft beer or something like that, I just enjoy it. It just
that's your go-to.
I can taste it. That's my go-to every time.
That's it.
Trop Cherry.
Tropical Cherry.
Tropicana Cherry.
Shout out to Tropicana Cherry. Okay, question number 2. Coffee or cannabis to start the day?
Coffee.
Really?
I need the stimulation to get going.
You need a stimmy first.
Cannabis is my nightcap. That's when it's time to wind down.
One for the wake up, one for to put me down.
Bro, substance driven.
Are you heavy on the creamer, sugar, sweetener? How do you like?
Not sugar, because I feel the insulin shock. I feel the sugar affect it brings me down, so to speak. But I honestly, to try to make it quick, I go through McDonald's. I'll go through any coffee shop and I ask for a cold brew coffee because I'm a chugger, and they ask me what kind of flavorings, and I say nothing, and they have to question me time and time again. Do you want a flavor? And I said no, and they're like, that's really weird. I just want black coffee and ice. I want the caffeine. I don't really need the sugar. Creamer can help.
Got a fucking renegade here.
But it's also comes down to gut health. But that is for another conversation because I don't trust my gut health. But anyways.
I like it. Coffee to start the day, cannabis to end the day, and strawberry.
Tropicana Cherry.
Tropicana Cherry is the preferred flavor. So did some time in the Marine Corps, ran several races. You talked about running a marathon. For question number 3, best workout recovery tip in one sentence that you learned over that. Best recovery tip in one sentence.
Best recovery tip in one sentence, ice bath.
Yo.
Ice bath.
Got me one.
I tried. I seen that and I'm hella jealous. Hella jealous about that.
$99. And guess who paid for it? My HSA. I was like, I could buy an ice bath. Let's go.
But me knowing me, you live down the road from a lake, and that's literally where I would dip instead, just because. Yeah. Especially on a cold day.
Yeah. No,
but I just overdo things like that.
It's no excuse. I got the thing late in the summer, and it was nice to get out there, throw some ice in it, jump in it, and get out, and I was fucking off to work.
I want straight discomfort.
It's
when I get out of that water, I want straight discomfort still until I can recover back up.
I'm shivering silly. All day, even after a hot shower. Okay, I digress. That one I could lose track on. That's another rabbit hole for us to.
Hell yes.
Number 4. What's a common cannabis myth that drives you crazy?
Indica and sativa. Indica and sativa, when you go to a dispensary, you ask, what do you want? And you talk about things like, I want uplifting or I want sleep. Indica, sativa. But the thing that people they don't even like hearing this, but indica and sativa have little to do with the effects that when it comes to uplifting or getting some sleep. There's actually specific cannabinoids like CBN, or the time that you harvest your plant, whether it be an indica or sativa, is what is really a driving factor and why why sativa is considered uplifting and indica is considered in the couch or more cerebral, because it's the harvest times and the reasons why we don't really pay attention to the harvest times, because that is a huge factor when it comes to that.
I know that's the one that drives you crazy, because if I let you go, I know you can go another 30 minutes just on that topic. Something that drives him crazy, sativa, indica, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It's got more to the profile. And we know just a guy that can test and tell you the actual profiles if you need to know them. Okay, going on to number 5. Favorite cheat meal or guilty pleasure snack? Ooh, you'd be really telling on yourself here.
This one is a really tough one. But
You got the munchies,
honestly, god damn it, dude.
guilty pleasure.
Okay, so I'm the hugest fan of Hawaiian barbecue, but I've been to LC's lately, or L&L, and it's not even the same over there anymore. But I go to Hawaiian Bros, and they got these wraps, and the Molokai Mac wrap, but if I get Kilauea, because it's got a little bit more heat, dude, that's my shit. That's my shit.
That's
right
it?
there, is the Kilauea Mac wrap from Hawaiian Bros. That's been something I really need to get away from. I hope that's a limited thing, because if they keep serving that, I'm gonna keep buying it.
Shout out Hawaiian Bros to my Kanaka Maolis. Yo, I'm gonna have
I'm
to
not
get-
a fan of Hawaiian Bros either. Like they're not a good representation of Hawaiian barbecue to me.
Hey, if the food slaps, it slaps.
It does slap.
I don't care who's
Better,
making
it's better than Mo Bettas.
it. Shout out.
at
my
least
man.
out here.
If you could use one piece of fitness equipment for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I don't know if you've heard of TRX, but it's a sling system that you're hanging to your door, and you could do things. You could change the way that you do. It's taking your body. What do you call it? Just your body.
Your body weight, your body resistance.
Just body resistance, but you can change elevating your feet, or changing your feet, or even doing like wide grip lat pull down. You could do a lot of things with just your own body weight, especially if you're one that travels a lot.
Oh.
Pack that thing in your suitcase and just hang it up on your door, and you could do a lot of that, especially if you're not comfortable with being the only person that shows up in a freaking hotel gym. I know we don't like doing that, but the TRX to me is my go-to for anywhere that I'm at, all around.
Hey,
TRX.
we're about 3 weeks out from Christmas, so quick gift idea for you if you're traveling for work, if you're concerned, like us old guys, about mobility and range of motion and being able to get some in without carrying 15,000 pounds of weights around. Shout out TRX. Great answer, by the way. Number 7, what's the weirdest thing you've tested at Devil's Lettuce Test Labs?
That's a good one, because I do get a lot of weird ones. But one of the most interesting ones that I've come across is something called Green Dragon. And that's literally making a alcohol tincture that you soak your cannabis in, but you are letting it soak for over a year. And this is something that has been going back through thousands of years, honestly. Hundreds and thousands of years.
Dragon juice?
It's called
Green Dragon.
And it's literally like you're doing the decarbing when I was talking about earlier, where you're trying to get cannabinoid conversion. But when I had one of my favorite people, she had one that was at 9 months that has been sitting around. We tested it. And then we tested it again a few months later, and the cannabinoids even changed from there. But it's something they've practiced for like over a thousand years, and like in caves where they've just soaked it in alcohol in one form or fashion.
Sounds like a wild ass drink to me.
That
Yo,
that was my thing. Like hello. But I love the way that the cannabinoids, they just surprised me. Like when I really thought I had a grasp on the way the chemistry of cannabinoids work, that really put me into a place where I'm like, I really don't have a clue.
And the best way to find out where that profile level is at is called an experienced professional testing service. Don't leave it up to the caves to figure it out for you.
I think my brain can handle it more.
Number 8, describe your perfect day off in 3 words.
PlayStation Battlefield 2042.
Hey, yo! That was like 6 words.
No, these are compound words.
Okay.
PlayStation
PlayStation, Battlefield.
2042.
2040.
2042, the year.
What, is that a game?
Yes, it is.
You learn something every day.
I want to say Call of Duty, but I'm not a Call of Duty fan. So Battlefield.
Perfect
2042.
day. Wow. Okay, what's a fitness or health trend you think is overrated?
It's overrated. God damn it. I'm gonna say this, and dude, this even goes against some of my own methods.
Don't say it. Let's both say it at the same time. What you're thinking, what I'm thinking, in 3 seconds. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Cardio.
CrossFit.
What?
CrossFit.
Holy shit.
CrossFit.
CrossFit, overrated, oversold, over-publicized, and over-marketed. That's what you think is the biggest fitness and health trend. I like it.
I still like doing it though, because it feeds my need for camaraderie, competition.
It's just the way it's packaged and sold. And at one point, you were really heavy into that, but then
That's what I'm saying. Like it goes against.
as we're getting older, man, I'm fucking my shoulder up, and like my hips getting blown out, like some of these movements.
It's really, if it's not done correctly, it's really bad.
Risk over reward. That's the person why I teach. What's the risk and what's the overall reward? Are you risking a lot to win a lot? It sounds like you're.
And just like you said, when you're old, like to me,
Yeah, you fuck your back up, you can't work.
I honestly think I'm at a point where mobility, I should spend more time doing mobility than I actually do a lift.
Agreed.
Or heavy weight or whatever it is I'm doing, just because, dude, man, the muscle just ain't flexible. I'm not the best one to say it, but I know personally, my flexibility, my mobility, because I do sit down quite a bit. You do things like CrossFit and you're doing it for speed and time.
Oh no, you breaking some shit.
This is why old people stand like this all the time. They don't stand because that right there is no longer
Nope.
like flexible anymore.
Interior pelvic tilt.
Oh no, we ain't going down that rabbit. Huh?
Well, you'll see it a lot. Some things you can't help. If you have scoliosis or kyphosis, rounding at the back, you may not be able to help that, but you can do yourself a lot of good by working on mobility, stretching, and you don't have to deadlift and do a bunch of crazy CrossFit shit for that.
And it was an old person in that position on an elevator on my way to do the marathon that told me, don't take care of that. Don't think about it where like it's not important.
Yeah, you gotta enjoy it.
Yeah, like because
You gotta enjoy it.
they're old and they realize, hey, I'm at a point now where the abductors and all that, like that, I never really paid attention, and now I'm paying for it, and I can't do nothing about it.
And now it's fucking me all kinds of up.
So
I'm gonna ask you the last question here of our rapid fire session, which is actually fun. I'm gonna be doing this on every show. Now I really like it. This one will be a little bit more serious, but if you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
this is a tough one.
Time machine. You got one piece of advice to give Brad in the early 90s, late 90s. What are you telling him?
Do I say? I want to say something as simple as pay attention to develop good habits. You know what?
That's your one piece of advice?
Adopt a stoic mentality.
Boom. Holy shit.
That would be it. Adopt a stoic mentality, and I really think that will be the precursor to everything else that will happen. So
I like it.
learn it, love it, and learn it, adopt it, and practice it. Stoicism.
Be stoic in all the things that you do. I'm telling you right now, if I had a time machine, I'd go talk to Kia Twala back in 1996. I'd say, listen here, motherfucker. Every dime you get, put it into this thing called Bitcoin. You will not regret it. 100,000.
I take that back.
I don't care, because Kia ain't gonna listen to the stoic bullshit. He's not gonna listen to eating better or not chasing girls. All right, if I know me, I was like, hey, listen, every dime you got, the first paycheck, just put it in this thing called Bitcoin. Trust me, he'll thank me later.
That's why I go to him for wisdom.
It's
Hey, fuck everything I told you about stoicism, Bitcoin.
No, I think at that age, getting that much from Bitcoin, I probably wouldn't be here today. But being a stoic is something that I currently implement into my day to day, and something that's going to progress me into the future, and hopefully gives me some insight on the next great fucking Bitcoin.
Maybe adopting a stoic mentality would lead you to already going into Bitcoin? Who knows?
You might have been more stoked.
I'm not gonna lie, I really like that answer. I dig that answer.
Hey, that's actually the end of the rapid fire 10 questions. And I'm going to bring this one to an end because we weren't even trying, but we went to 200 minutes. And I think it's appropriate that we hit the 200-minute mark here on Tautua Talk because this happens to be following the same sequence of numbers, the actual 20th episode. I said it prematurely in an episode before, but turns out I miscounted my episodes and didn't name an episode 13. So this is actually episode 20, which is very significant when it comes to podcasting because 80% of podcasts do not make it past the first episode. And even less than that, I believe it's less than 10% of those will actually make it up to and past episode 20. So you got to witness here in the 200th minute of the 20th episode of a very small percentage of gentlemen.
And if that doesn't tell you something about the words that we're talking right now, then I don't know what to tell you because obviously if you can't make it past that first episode, you really don't have anything worth listening to. And I really believe that what we have here, even though we have went off on tangent,
Did.
But that's
a couple.
That's the whole point. That's what fun is it if you are highly structured in what we say? But I'm thoroughly happy to be part of this. I'm really happy that we are on this talking about our businesses that are still going on. And so obviously we're doing something right. And even though we may be, I was like, even though we are still going through trials and tribulations, goddamn it, we are still here. And if it, any sort of entertainment, then by all means, then I think we found promise in just this right here. If anything else fails.
And I think it's appropriate that we're ending it with the one that actually set it all in motion and got me to start on my entrepreneurial journey. That's actually my brother from another mother for over 30 years. He's the one that initiated this change, and you don't know. That's why the power of speech is so powerful. The words that you use can plant seeds that will ultimately, who knows, one day turn into an international fitness and nutrition coaching company and spawn a podcast that most people don't make it past episode 1. You make it to 20, and I'll tell you the only reason I did it is because I read those stats and I was like, I'm going to how hard can it be to do 20 episodes? And here we are.
We are.
The 200th minute, the 20th episode of the first season of Tautua Talk with the guy that started it all, initiated the change. Brad Sanchez, the CEO, founder, and operator of Devil's Lettuce Testing. If you want more information from that, there's going to be contact information at the bottom of this video. And if you are interested in reaching out to him directly, contact email is going to be on there as well.
If you want to follow anything that I got going on, same thing, Devil's Lettuce Test Labs on Facebook and Instagram, or you can go to devilslettucetesting.com, or if you decide that you want to go ahead and grow yourself, more than happy to help you out, because not only do we just do it just for fun, let's help provide some real value into why it is growing. Even if it's just for fun, then let's make things a little easier, because a lot of information out there that can become quite overwhelming, because we are in an age of information, and that information become overwhelming.
Reach out to him. So if you are going to do something passionate, interested, or you just want to find out some more information, he's the one to get a hold of. Contact information is going to be down below. Same with mine. You can reach out to me at Tautua Fitness. That's info, I-N-F-O, at tautuafitness.com. You can search us up on Instagram, Tautua Fitness. We drop daily videos, stories, posts to keep you engaged, but also give you some fitness knowledge and advice. You can reach out and join my free, that's right, it's free, fitness community. Join the Tautua tribe. I utilize the school app. I give you free courses, do live coaching sessions, but also, more importantly, you get to be part of the tribe of other tribal members who are going through the same journey. They can share wins, experiences, and also build a network of your tribe members across the country and now the world, being a part of the Tautua tribe. So that information will be below. I'm going to end it here on Tautua Talk on the 20th episode. And I just want to remind you that it's about progress, not perfection, and it's proof over promises every time.